Hey, okay, so I actually wanted to talk about writing. I don't talk about that like at all anymore, so we're gonna talk about it now. So, about a couple weeks ago, sounds about right. I was talking with a friend of mine, and out of nowhere, he said, "Do you ever think about going back and reading your writing and maybe working on it again?" And I was like, you have no idea. Because, there's sometimes, like the stuff that I worked on way back in the early 2000s and everything, looking at it and it's like, you know, oh. And then I told him that every so often I look at my books and there's some things in there that I'm not satisfied with and I want to fix it, but I can't. And he says, why don't you go ahead and fix it? And I'm like, because it's published. It's already there. I can't do anything about it. People are buying it. And he's like, no, you can still fix it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, listen, those box sets and everything for movies and everything, we buy them. We don't really need them, but we buy them. He says, like Disney will release something and then they release another collection. And then, just like with Back to the Future, he told me that he has like 3 sets of Back to the Future. He says, I don't need it. I have the movie. Why do I need And he says, the 35th anniversary just came out. I'm going to buy it. I don't need it because I already have the movie. He says, we need all these special features and all of this. And he goes, we gotta have it. We rushed to get it. We gotta have it. And all the bloopers and all of that stuff. And I said, well, literature is a little bit different than these movie things. And he says, no, it's not. He says, like J.K. Rowling, she said that she wrote Harry Potter, like the first Harry Potter, and then she wrote it again and released the book again. So there's like 2 manuscripts out of that first Harry Potter book. He said that Stephanie Meyer, everyone had the first book. And then not too long ago, she released a gender bent version. It's the same book, it's the same story. Everyone knew the story, but it's gender bent. Gotta have it. He said everyone gets all upset with George Lucas for, altering his creation, but other people are doing it and it's okay. He goes, I don't understand that. And he says, but the point is that it's the same thing in literature. He says, you can do it. He says, it's your creation. You can do whatever you want with it. Well, after that conversation, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Artists do that. Painters have done it for years because Picasso did it. There's that famous cafe. I think Degas did it with the cafe and the guy with the top hat. And that particular fellow was painted in 20 years later, and you can tell by the brush strokes. The brush strokes are a lot different from everything else in that painting. So, so in every art form, be it movies, literature, painting, it doesn't matter. You can change it. If you're the creator, you can change it. So, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I grabbed up my old manuscripts. I pulled them and I started looking at them and I was like, why are these 12 count, first of all? They're supposed to be 10 count. So that was the first problem I had. I started working on The Widow, the one from 1912. That's the one I decided to start with. And first of all, you guys can yell and scream at me. Those of you that bought it, I'm sure that, especially the Titanic fans, Titanic obsessed, I'm sure you guys were having fits because it was so inaccurate. I'm reading it and I'm like, because I'm going through it and I'm like, that's wrong. That's wrong. What drugs was I on? And 'cause, it had to be drugs. That's just the bottom line. I don't know what was going on. So yeah, there was that, and but as for the writing side of it, when I dropped it to 10 count, of course, it went to like half a page. And so, of course, I'm hearing my high school teachers when they would say, flesh it out, flesh it out. I remember having to write all of those book reports and the essays, and they would say, just make sure to flesh it out. You can flesh it out, and everything. Of course, you're writing a bunch of nonsense back then. I graduated high school 20 years ago, guys. Here I am. I am struggling. I am struggling. You know, you can say that you are, oh, I'm the greatest expert writer. I've been writing for this amount of years and blah, 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 blah. No. Go back to like some of your oldest manuscripts, pull it out and and read it and then start working on it. This is such an experience. And you want to know what? I love it. I am enjoying it because, first of all, it has been turning. I mean, this story is going to be completely different. I'm going to be re-releasing it, of course, and it's going to be completely different. Holy cow. And because, for example, the chapter where Titanic sinks, it was like I just rushed through it. I'm like, what the hell? This is like the moment, right? And I was like, why is it? No, no. What was I doing? So, flesh it out. I mean, there was like no emotion. There was like nothing happening. It was just like sinks. People are getting in lifeboats and sinks. It's like the sugar surface stuff that and it was like there was like no emotion at all. It's like, you know, and that's when you know that my detail writing, I've always said that my detail writing, my descriptive writing, suffers so bad. Well, there you go. It was awful. And especially when you drop it to 10 count, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this sucks. I feel like I have to apologize to everybody who bought the damn book. This is atrocious. Oh my gosh. I mean, and I love writing. I do. I absolutely love writing and everything. So when I see this, it's like, this is an embarrassment. This is absolutely embarrassing. So I'm actually thankful that my friend told me about, that I had this conversation with my friend, because when he said that to me, at first I was a little defensive and everything, because I was like, no, it's done. I can't really do anything about it and everything. Kind of like push it aside. It's done. It's over. And because I've got these other things that I got to work on and everything. But this is, I've stood by these stories and and you guys read these stories and it's like, I don't want you to think that this is the kind of writer that I am. So yeah, I'm fixing them. And I am absolutely loving this exercise. It is amazing. And again, I have to thank him for mentioning that, and especially bringing up the fact that, I mean, we as as human beings, we don't need 10 different discs of Back to the Future or Lion King or, or Lord of the Rings, but but we do. We have like the different anniversary editions of something. We just do because we got to have those special bloopers and all of that stuff. And then to be told about these different famous authors who have changed their old manuscripts. And then I started doing some research, and it turns out Jules Verne did the same thing. Jules Verne was Trixie. He did it. And but to be honest, it doesn't surprise me with him. So yeah, Jules Verne um played a little trick. and and he did that. But Jules Verne was also the guy that he sent a letter, like an anonymous letter, and he told to this magazine, telling the magazine, you gotta sign up this Jules Verne guy because he's such an amazing author. And he's such a kick. I love him. And so back then when they didn't really have any way of tracking people down like we do now. I love it. I love him. And but so these authors that would like Stephanie Meyer, who did the gender bend, it was the same story. You bought the exact same story. And so yeah, it's an amazing exercise. I've been working on it for a long time. And yeah, hearing my high school teachers, my English teachers, who were saying flesh it out, flesh it out. And I go back and I flesh it out more, especially like I've also been, before I close it up because I didn't want this to be too long, but there's like, I've morphed a couple chapters together because I'm realizing that certain chapters could have just been combined. I was putting more chapters than need be, and I'm realizing that I can flesh out more and more. I go back and I read, and I'm realizing that I can flesh out more and more. And so this exercise is brilliant. I love it. And I highly encourage other writers to do the same thing. It is just fantastic. And so yeah, go back and look at some of your other, your older manuscripts, pull one out and just start reading and just start working on it. It's a great exercise. As for me, I will be re-releasing these manuscripts because yeah, I've like I said, I've been standing behind them and I don't know why. With the historical inaccuracies, as that's just embarrassing right there, and everything else that was in them. So anyway, yeah, this exercise is great. I highly recommend you do it.